I'm Maddie.
I'm Amber. And we're Witches Talking Tarot.
We are the weirdos in this one.
I get soft like a sailor snubble. Flip the switch and let the cauldron bubble. Sam.
Wow. Hey everybody, I'm Amber.
And I'm Maddie.
And we're Witches Talking Tarot. And today we have for you a fun episode. It's been a minute, but today we bring you Trace Trees, the spicy edition. Sorry, I've just been waiting. I'm excited I got to introduce this one because I was like, that's what I'll say if I'm introducing spicy trees. We're going to talk sandalwood, cinnamon, and dragon's blood. Those sacred spices that are good for us inside and out.
So I just want to address the elephant in the room real quick for our YouTube viewers. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. But we have new equipment.
Yeah, if you saw it on Threads or Twitter or X, because I totally shared it on there. Like,
did?
Hey, yeah, I was like, look, we're
And Instagram too. We excited. Got to share it with everybody, right?
Yes.
But you guys are the reason why we were able to do this. We had a
our
sponsor.
patron.
Oh,
well,
yeah, we had
I
a sponsor and
Patreon.
Our
Yeah.
patrons. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank y'all. And if you would like to, feel free to sponsor your favorite witches. We do commercials.
We do. And now we have a really cool thing. So I feel like a radio host and did you know? Or I'm like, wow, you should try that. I don't know what's a radio voice. It's like, wowza.
Pinky in the brain. Now, picture for my fellow 40-year-olds out there, but it came to mind.
It's
and
the
it does sound like, it's
so
I
good.
couldn't think of whatever in the baby in the dingo.
It's like all the buttons, and
yeah.
it's like laughter, weird woman moaning in the background for a
Yeah.
second.
I don't know. Usually we can play with those buttons. I am haven't done that yet.
We will.
Yeah. First, it's just making sure that the primary equipment works. Getting the stuff balanced because, there should not be an echo, and the bass and the treble should be equal, and because we've got that kind of fancy stuff.
I'm also gonna be kind of vain for a minute. My hair looks really good. I just started using this coconut oil serum, and I can tell a difference.
Coconut oil is the secret to my hair.
It is
absolutely,
It is
100%. Coconut oil is so good.
It's great for the girls.
It's great for balancing hormones. I keep seeing stuff.
We do the coconut tree.
It's gonna be like, come the summer, we should do coconut, but I actually have a note in my phone. It's coconut, banana, some other tree.
Oh fuck yeah, avocado.
Summertime.
Oh my god, the smoothie. What the coconut, pineapple, avocado,
Yes.
Get us
okay, so should we switch out banana for pineapple then?
Oh, well, is pineapple a bush or is it considered a tree?
Well, I mean, in all of these Trace Trees episodes, one thing I have realized is any bush can be a tree, and any tree can be bush.
The sandalwood is
the sandalwood and the cinnamon. It talked about how sometimes they make it do this thing by Oh wait, no, the sandalwood they coppice it. So if you say a copse of trees, what that really means is they have cut the tree down, not to its roots, but to a stump that is still living, and new shoots will grow out. And then once those trees come of age, you coppice those, and after a while, you have a whole area that is full of trees that have been coppiced, and that is what a copse of trees is, which I didn't know because I just call it a copse of trees because I think it sounds cool.
I've noticed people doing that accidentally and then getting pissed that the tree keeps growing back.
That's why you got to pull the stump.
You shouldn't, but I saw this one guy in his yard. It was actually very cute. It was an old stump of this huge tree. It made me so sad. But right in the middle of this huge tree was a little Groot. You know, so I was like,
Love
"Ah,
this.
he came back." It's like a phoenix.
Love
Like a
that.
phoenix from
Yeah,
the flames.
but also it shows that life goes on, for one, and
life finds a way.
life finds a way. There is a cycle of all things,
Mhm.
and their cycle is not ended just because we interrupt it.
Mhm.
It actually helps them flourish
It
and
does.
thrive.
It does. Yeah.
Which again, I'm not recommending it just because like do what you got to do, but like makes me sad.
Well, it's like burning season. You know,
Right.
people burn and then they grow. It grows
Yeah.
back
True,
beautifully.
exactly. So it's like
Wildflowers,
you know.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Um,
the way that the trees can carry on, even if, because I bet if they, without humans cutting it,
Mhm.
if it were to get, cut in half in a storm by
Mhm.
lightning or something, if it didn't get killed, new growth would come
Right.
out and you'd have 3 new trees or
Mhm.
whatever
Mhm.
out of the one.
Well, speaking of
Sandalwood.
fire, can we talk about the dragon's blood tree for a minute?
Okay.
Okay, first of all, it's a very peculiar looking tree, isn't
It's
it?
beautiful. No, I love it.
Beautiful, but it's
I
not.
love it.
It doesn't blow in the wind.
No,
type
not
tree.
at all. It's very much, it actually, it pulls in the wind, or at least the moisture from the wind.
Yeah, I
because
saw that.
in the area that it grows in, it grows in Yemen, on an archipelago of Yemen. That is a word I cannot pronounce, but starts with a C or S. It's like SOTOC something or other.
Mhm.
And I'm just not even going to try to say that. And you guys know how I love to try with words, but that one's too far. But like it actually gives the soil 60% of the water that comes into it, or moisture rather, that comes into it, because the way that it's shaped, the way that the leaves are and the branches are, it actually grabs the moisture out of the clouds and the air and puts it down into its roots and distributes that moisture into the soil so that it can.
No, I did read that the
Fucking
dragon's
crazy.
blood trees were having some issues because of warming
Absolutely.
in the area. There's not as many like monsoons. Their monsoon season has been interrupted.
Right, and we're talking about Dracaena cinnabar. Like, there's a lot of dragon's blood plants out there, but there's only one true dragon's blood tree, and that's what we're talking about is endangered.
So is that the
when-
same as the season, the incense? Those are different.
Originally,
Uh-huh.
this is where the incense came from.
Okay.
Incense came from. However, what you're mostly going to find in stores these days is from other plants that also have gotten that dragon's blood moniker and have that red sap that can be turned into the incense. Because when we use dragon's blood incense, that it's the sap from the drupes or fruits that the tree produces.
The dragon's blood tree.
Yes.
I also read that dragon's blood fruits are great for livestock, but you don't want to overfeed the livestock on them because it can cause an irritation in the stomach. But it's great for like deworming, things like that.
That makes sense though, because it's got all those properties, like health wise.
Oh yeah, we can eat the
like
berries too as well. I'm pretty sure we can use the whole of the tree.
And like, what's really interesting about that is, like, one of the problems with the trees is goats eating the young ones, because there's like it's an unofficial, like, I was reading about this unofficial like nonprofit essentially that's trying to put the trees back. Like, this man planted like 800 of them, and he and his son are the caretakers. And every day the sun goes out and he takes note of which trees have goats eating on them, which trees haven't been messed with, which ones are, he waters them until they no longer need the assistance of the watering, like mature enough or whatever. But like, he's trying to help save the dragon's blood in the area of Yemen where they grow. Yes, I'm pretty sure that those guys are in the area of Yemen that they grow, because there's also like, there are some that have been planted elsewhere where they will grow, because dragon's blood is from this one particular area and not naturally found anywhere else in the world, but has been able to be grown in just a few other areas like Morocco.
Well, and I think that I read the oldest dragon's blood tree is like almost 700 years old.
Oh, that's cool. Shit,
But there's none any older than that.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Also,
But
we're
also-
talking all about this dragon's blood. Did we mention why it was named dragon's blood in the first place?
Well, there's multiple different stories. My favorite was a fight between a dragon and an elephant, which makes and it makes
but it's the sap is red. That's why. When you cut it, okay, it looks like it's bleeding.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And we kind of covered it with the red incenses from the resin from the fruits, but also yes, like when you cut it, like, but also there's different stories, but they all have to do with bloodshed as to where it comes from.
Which,
however,
makes sense.
it does make sense. But the elements that it's attached to are fire and Mars. So I find it interesting
I believe that because Mars is the red planet.
Right. Well, and it's fighting energy. It's warring energy, right? And the dragon's blood, all the stories, like one of them or two of them have to do with a dragon and an elephant fighting, and then one of them has to do with two brothers fighting, and that is, I think the Hindu origin.
I think I like the two brothers fighting because
I like the elephant.
Promise, but
because you like the drama of the two brothers fighting.
I do like the drama of the two brothers fighting, but also I don't know the story, so I don't know. But
Cain and Abel?
That's what I was thinking. Like, because,
original sin.
Yes, and then
is that why dragon's blood is so cleansing?
Also, I just love.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No,
it's right.
Yeah, and it's so deep to me because it's like it's not just killing one's brother or something like that. It is showing that people. I don't fucking know. I'm not gonna get off on that.
Oh, please do.
People. I'm trying to think. It depends. I don't know.
Sometimes we're willing to cut our ties that we have for things that we feel more drawn to.
I think so. There's this song that I love
because I didn't actually look up
Cocaine and Abel, and you should totally check it out. Have you heard it? Called Cocaine and Abel. It's by Amigo the Devil. And one of the lyrics that really stuck with me. The whole song is just beautiful, and it's basically about this guy who's fucked over his family because he went through issues like drugs, hence the name. And one of the lyrics, he says, "The blood in the water is the blood of my brother." We both learned in the end it doesn't matter which one's thicker than the other. And so when you mentioned the brothers fighting, that was just the lyrics that popped into my head. And it's just, I guess, like you said, the drama of it, but also the reality of it. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
So it's a really good song. Highly recommend. Also, I just love Amigo the Devil. He's not for everyone. I don't know if he is openly a Satanist, but he does have some sacrilegious songs, which I do love, like Cocaine and Abel.
Yeah, I mean, like Straight Light Manifesto, like they have all these lyrics, or like they have all these songs that like you might be listening to it and you're like, oh, this is super upbeat, but then you hear the lyrics and it's like they are very much like anti-biblical. I'll say that. Anyway, they're great. I love Street Light Manifesto, but they're probably not for everybody because they're a ska band. But like, I get what you're saying. Like
it's like one that's, it's like it's so deep though, but it makes no sense. Like I love his song. I think it's "Quiet as a Mouse" or something, and it's specifically referencing like how God is like quiet as a mouse. And then he says, "But if God made us in our image, is that why He hates us so much?" Makes you think.
Makes me think a lot of things actually, because I'm all like, is God quiet as a mouse? Because God's voice is so thunderous that it would kill you if you heard it.
Right.
So like he has to be quiet as a mouse so that he can get through to us without hurting us.
Right. I got chills. I can't lie. It's a good song, guys. Check it out.
Anyway, I love music, so I will definitely check out Amigo the Devil. But anyway, so like what I love about Dragon's Blood, not only does it have like this duality at the beginning, right? Because one way or another, the myths are it started from a quarrel where someone's blood was spilled. And from it, we get this powerful magical element because dragon's blood is used in purifying. It's used in love magic.
I actually am
in fire magic.
I use dragon's blood often.
I know
it's like my go-to, but now I'm like, oh, I have chills because a sacrifice was made to give us this medicine. Whether it was, and obviously it was through a quarrel. You know what I mean? Whether it was an intentional sacrifice or maybe two brothers or a dragon and an elephant fighting and somebody accidentally killed another.
Or, hear me out. So these, like, so in most of our Trace Trees episodes, I'm talking about how ancient these trees are, right?
Right.
And like the dragon's blood tree is a Dracaena, and that is an old tree, right?
Love the
But
name.
I love Dracenas. I love raising them. They're so much fun. I love Dracenas. They're
What a beautiful name and be
Yeah.
a pretty name for a girl.
Yes, it would be.
I
actually.
think so. Dracaena?
I know, it's like Drusilla, but not the
But
sister
not,
from
and also
Cinderella.
you've got like some
Yeah.
dragon Draco type vibe.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Dracaena. I do like that. But like, so it's like it's a newer tree though, right? Like it's not as old and ancient as other things that we've talked about in our Trace Trees episodes, right?
It's not.
It's-
I noticed that.
It has this, I see it as this correlation with all the ones that we're going to talk about today between almost like they evolved to be our medicine. So look at the story, right? It's a fight between two things. Obviously, this is a hybrid or it has morphed from one thing to another and it's something to
I love doing these episodes because I feel like I gain such a respect for whether it's the magical tool, whether it's the tree, the plant. Like I just, I have
the animal. Check out next episode.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
you're right. It was.
We're doing a episode, just so you guys know that was not
a
weird.
cringe.
It's totally cringe,
I
but
know,
there was a reason.
oh God, no.
Anyway,
I'm gonna finish that on the next episode.
Anyway.
You're right, because even if the myths, I don't want to say aren't true, because myths are used
come from places.
Yes, myths are used to explain things. And if these two, that was beautiful, Amber.
Okay.
Moving on to, can we do cinnamon
next?
Okay. So
that's so funny because in my research on cinnamon came up what I want to say in regard to what you just said, which is one thing that I learned, because like it was talking about like Pliny the Elder wrote about cinnamon that it's found in blah 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 place, right? It's like you had to get it from this winged serpent that was on a thing on a cliff and a blah blah blah. And so he didn't just come up with that bullshit. So apparently a lot of these spice traders, because dragon's blood is only from
it's
place in Yemen, and it
spice,
had to come through the Silk Road to everybody else, right? And so the spice traders, they made up stories about these spices to make them seem more valuable, like you had to go to all this trouble, but also to discourage anybody else from trying to find their source so that they wouldn't like lose money. So like when you read like cinnamon that was gathered from the blah 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 blah, and this is ancient blah blah blah, like this is really what like the spice traders may have told somebody, and that story really did get back to somebody, and that's why it got written down that way, because like somebody really said that shit because they wanted to make it more valuable and less encouraging for somebody else to take their trade. I just thought that was so
Speaking
interesting.
of spicy, I do like that smell that you're wearing.
Oh, thank you.
I just got a huge whiff of it when you were moving. That smells really nice.
Thank you. It's Sandalwood, which is up next, and amber predominantly.
What's really interesting about the cinnamon was, I don't know why it never occurred to me that it would be like in warmer climates, tropical climates. You can't, it does not thrive inside.
No, absolutely.
You have to have it outside. Yeah. I guess it can be doctored or babied through a winter, but it mostly grows in America, in Florida, Key West. That's Key West, right?
Well, Key West is below Florida. It is the most southern.
Yes, so like the
Florida.
Key West in Florida.
Well,
areas
that's a
like
dangerous
that.
place because of all the storms.
Right.
But I mean, it originally only comes from Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
It used to be called Ceylon. I think I'm saying that right. Ceylon. And so when you see Ceylon cinnamon, that's what it means. It means it's that original cinnamon from that area or from a tree that, like, it's not, because there's also false cinnamons, just like there's false dragon's blood, which also, before we fully get into cinnamon, don't be like, I need all natural dragon's blood. Like, maybe accept the substitutes because they're more plentiful and that's better for the environment. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I totally
Yeah,
get you.
I'm gonna say that with all of these trees. Just
Well,
FYI.
luckily, cinnamon is not endangered from what
Well,
I read.
Well, the Ceylon is slightly like
right.
it's
There's
better,
like I
but
think one. What is it? Is it true cinnamon?
true cinnamon. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is the one that's why it's like accept the substitutes, like
Yeah,
accept them for the sake of the thing.
Well, and I read that cinnamon originally comes from the word cinnamon with a K, which is not Greek, but Latin. And I think that means spice is what I read. It means spice.
Well, and before the Romans ever got a hold of it, it did have another.
It started with a C.
Yeah,
it's
well,
always
and
started with like a C or a K. There was also one that was like it was called Casa.
Well,
Cassia
cassia is one of those like it's not actually cinnamon.
Okay,
but it can be instead of cinnamon. I have so many different things about cinnamon.
That's okay.
But like, yeah, it's just.
And it has berries. I've never had cinnamon berries. Have you?
No, but that's where the oil comes from. Is the berries, the stems, the twigs, the leaves, and the flowers being pressed is where we get the oil from. Every part of the cinnamon tree is
the berry. Yeah, exactly. And I read that you could cook with the berry, kind of like a black peppercorn type vibe. And they said it's less sweet and more like something you would use along the lines of like parsley and black peppercorn and rosemary. Not really earthy, but like so I want to try it because I'm like I've never tried that.
And that makes sense because cinnamon, the bark that we eat, that bridges that gap between sweet and savory.
Right.
And so like the berries having the more savory spicy versus like a sweet spicy, that makes sense to me.
Well, and the cinnamon is found within the bark. It's not just the bark outside.
Right, it's not the outer bark, it's the inner bark. Yeah.
But you can use the outer bark. I mean, I'm pretty sure, is that what people use to make like cinnamon brooms? Those twigs? Or I don't know. I didn't do research on that.
I think the cinnamon brooms, are they actually made of cinnamon or are they just doused in cinnamon oil?
Oh God, probably.
I
can look it up because I'm curious.
I didn't look that up at all.
Me either. I didn't think about it till just now.
Yeah, but like because the outer bark is used in like mulch and stuff, and then the inner bark they loosen it up by banging on it with a brass rod.
Oh, you're right. It is cinnamon oil.
Okay. It is specifically brass that they use, which I thought that was interesting. But brass is non-reactive. And since cinnamon is so highly flavorful, it's got a lot of different chemical compounds. So it makes sense that you'd only want to use brass and stainless steel because when they cut the bark away, they only use a brass knife, or these days they also can use stainless steel knives. Back in the day, that wasn't an option, but now it is. But it makes sense with cinnamon specifically because of all those chemical compounds that give it those robust flavors. You don't want to like use some metal that's going to react to it and make it not taste that way.
Cinnamon is definitely one of my. First of all, cinnamon is my favorite type of dessert.
Girl, she puts it in.
I think a couple of times Amber's been like, "Okay, did you put cinnamon in this?" But like, cinnamon, girl, I'll be putting that shit in everything.
I
love it.
I've put it in like spaghetti and I've put it in chili, but
I hear it's in chili.
It is. But at the same time, like for me, it's sweet, but I don't want it overpowering.
Right.
Like I like it in my sweets, but I like it where it's like, yeah, there's cinnamon in it, not. I don't do cinnamon lollipops.
The one thing, that's what I was gonna say. The one thing I hate.
My family loves them.
Red Hots? Red Hots, no, thank you. Because cinnamon can be very spicy, but I love the cinnamon in my tea. If I'm having a pie, it's probably gonna have cinnamon in it, assuming it's not a fruit pie. Because I do not.
Well, you would have to put cinnamon in an apple pie.
Well, okay, an apple pie, but not a berry pie. That's what I should say. Okay. I wouldn't put it.
But see, like you put it in that berry one thing.
I know.
What the fuck? That was the main one time I was like, you put cinnamon in that?
Yes.
Because it was berries, and I was so confused.
I learned my lesson. That's why I wouldn't put it in a berry pie.
Okay. I can see you putting cinnamon.
We
in
don't
cherry
talk
pie.
about that incident.
It's good though. I thought it wasn't what I was expecting.
Right.
It was good.
It wasn't bad,
No.
but if I was gonna do it again, I would not. But I mean, again, I'd be adding cinnamon. I like cinnamon scent. Can we talk about apple spice candles? I love me cinnamon apple. Are you okay?
Sorry, I was just, if anybody on the YouTube saw that, something walked behind me.
Was it a dog?
No, they're not in here, so I don't know. I mean, there's nothing, but if you saw me like being all freaked out for a second, sorry.
They were like, "Don't you talk shit on that cinnamon."
Like, something sat right up behind me on my ass, and I was like, the cat is not in here.
That is creepy. But also, like, in my head, I'm like, that's got to be a house spirit being like, I help in the kitchen.
Yeah,
The kitchen.
like we liked that, and
it's
I
like
get it.
time of year.
It is.
Well,
Well, and
at least for me,
I've been going out of my way to please my dom.
really.
Oh yes.
Like for me, this time of year, I've got like the little house brownies are just running around.
I haven't gotten to tell you, I had 2 different people come to Tulsa PPD just because I was doing a presentation that had Slavic deities, because like they were Slavic practitioners. And so I got to talk to this lady about domovoys, and I was like, yeah, I'm trying to make mine happy. So I upped trying to make it happy, because I was like, I need to try harder on making my domovoy happy.
Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe, I don't know, but it was there. And if I looked weird by being like, what the fuck, that was why, guys. Sorry.
Do you have anything?
But how could you talk about sacred trees without some craziness?
Right,
happening?
literally. Nothing.
But like, I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say nothing bad. It's just it's very house spirity.
It is very house spirity, and I mean that makes sense though, because cinnamon is that warm. Like you smell cinnamon, you're like mom's baking.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
It's warm and it's
warming,
and it can be used topically for that reason too.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Hey, don't get cinnamon in your eyes. Like cinnamon oil, do not get it in your eyes.
I'm sure it'll happen.
Do not get it in your eyes. It hurts. Don't do it.
Don't eat a spoonful of it. Don't know if you remember when that was. I never did. Did you do it? I never did it.
I did it for people with diabetes and blood pressure or something like that. So I never did it, but I watched my friend do it, and she like, like all this powder is flying.
No, cinnamon's a powder. It's gonna dry your fucking mouth out, which means you're not gonna be able to breathe, and you're gonna spit it out, or you're gonna inhale it in. Don't inhale cinnamon. Don't smoke cinnamon. Don't inhale the powder, because it's gonna hurt your lungs.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good to like inhale the vapors. It does smell good when you use cinnamon incense. Again, it's that warming, like
it's more like don't
baking.
Smoke it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
sure.
I mean, it's okay
because I think the vapors would be real good.
Oh
if you,
yeah,
like,
that's fine.
Hot
But
cinnamon
like,
tea, but yeah, smoking it would.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? As a former smoker of clove cigarettes, I'm sure there might have been cinnamon in there. Oh, yeah. They would be not in spite. But cinnamon is an ancient medicine. Not only is it good in magic, and it's used in fire magic, and its associations are with Venus and Mercury.
Passion and love.
Yes, and like that makes sense, because like Venus, love, magic.
Yes.
Mercury is communication. And like cinnamon helps move things along. It helps speed things up. It can warm
Good
something.
for the heart.
It's great for the heart. It's great for all the blood systems. It's said to be good for menstrual pain. And like it makes sense, because like when you look at all the ways that cinnamon is good for you, it all seems to have to do with like the heart and the blood. I mean, there's more to it than that, because it's like antifungal, antibacterial, antimicrobial.
Really pay attention to certain herbs. Like I was just thinking about rosemary yesterday. Rosemary is great for memory and cognitive function, so it's good for the brain. But it's an anti-inflammatory, which of course it would be good for the brain.
Yes.
It's great for, with it being an anti-inflammatory and good for the brain. It's good for swelling. You know what I mean? And that works with. It's just crazy how it's medicine.
It makes sense.
Yes, and that's what I wish people understood. Herbal medicine is a medicine. It's not just a take this herb and it'll make you feel better. It's a no, everything connects.
Right.
Cinnamon is warm, so
It helps the
rubbing
blood
the
flow.
oil on your uterine area, of course, it's going to help with cramps or
Yes,
muscle
because it's
pains.
going to make the blood flow and it's going to
Yes.
help those cramps go away as the blood moves to the organ that needs
And it's
it.
great with blood sugar.
Yes,
Again,
that
that
blood in the heart. Exactly. And, you know, cinnamon is associated with Venus, which is associated with love. The heart is associated with love.
blood.
You know?
You need blood flow to have an erection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, really?
Really. Yeah. And I mean, the magical uses of love magic and lust magic go very hand in hand with the medicinal uses of cinnamon. It can even be used as an aphrodisiac sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Because blood flow.
Exactly.
You know, even if you put it topically, like the oil, when the rubs that I have cinnamon oil in, I can feel that it makes the blood flow in my skin.
It's like peppermint, but opposite.
Right, exactly.
It's warming, not cooling.
It's warming, not cooling.
Yes.
Exactly. Which I guess that would take us then to sandalwood, because you were a minute ago, before I had more to say, you were going to say, do I have anything more to say, right?
Yeah. Well, sandalwood is, I read that it was like a parasitic type.
It has to get into the roots. Yeah, it has, but it doesn't like detrimentally affect its host plant, but it is parasitic. It has to have a host plant to kind of root onto. I guess it would probably lose its ground in the sand, or not the sand.
Oh, and it doesn't grow very big either. It's not like a huge tree, from what I read.
Well, and it has to grow in the shade
or
of
it should
the parasite plant.
Right, it should be a bigger tree, but from what I was reading, people are cutting them down so quickly.
Well, and they don't live usually beyond 100 years.
Okay.
They don't reach maturity of the wood having the scent until 20 years to 80 years. So there's not a long harvest time. So a lot of times they'll grow the tree, then do that coppicing, use the wood from that tree to produce, because sandalwood oil only comes from the heartwood of the tree. The rest of the wood is used for other things, but the heartwood is what has that beautiful smell. And it's actually very cooling, which is funny that we ended cinnamon on the warming, because sandalwood, in its medicinal uses, one thing that people that live where the tree naturally grows, they will grind up the wood chips into a paste. Now, they meditate while they do this, and the aroma helps them with that meditation, and they do other ritualistic things while they do that. But then that paste can be used both decoratively, as well as, like, I think it's in Morocco, the women that use the sandalwood for this, and there's a special word for it. It's got an M in it, and I'll find it in a second, but they put it on their faces like a sunscreen. So it protects them from the sun, but it's also really good for your skin. It helps with acne. It's good for just skin health in general. And so they put it on their faces like a mask.
Well, and spiritually, it's used for offerings. I know that sandalwood is associated with the goddess Aphrodite. It's one of the offerings that is often left for her, as well as a number of other deities. But sandalwood is in so many cultures. I guess all of these are in so many cultures, because I know it's very prominent in like Hellenic culture. But where does the tree originate from again?
India. So the sandalwood, whose oil has the specific properties that make the sandalwood like super healthy and all that, it's only Indian sandalwood. So the sandalwood trees that originate in Australia and the sandalwood trees that originate, I think, in Madagascar, they are not the exact same kind of sandalwood. So they might kind of smell the same, but they don't have the same essential oil compounds.
So it's like they're branches of the same tree.
Right. Again, like, the thing that gets me about all of these trees is they're not nearly as ancient as the other ones we've looked into, but they are some of the most sacred in our religious uses for at least the past 2,000 years, if not longer. Now, sandalwood has been mentioned in texts since the beginning of humanity recording stuff. Cinnamon and dragon's blood, only about the last 2,000 to 2,500 years.
Well, and I think all of these have been used, like you said, in religious ceremonies. You know, dragon's blood is used often in Asia and countries like that, which makes sense because I'm pretty sure that's close, right?
Well, and not just that, but because of the Silk Road for over the last 2,000 years, all of these have been desired throughout the entire
I know the
world.
Catholic Church just latched on to like sandalwood as well as dragon's blood. I know that they use dragon's blood as well.
Well, and it's funny because the Dutch, whether I don't think it was necessarily religion, but because of the demand for cinnamon, they latched onto cinnamon. They took up Sri Lanka, where cinnamon's from, and then when they found out there was some cinnamon that had been planted over on India, they like went and took all of it out.
I'm not
So that
the spice trade kind of shitty.
Yeah, like wars were fought over these trees that we're talking about today.
Yeah,
like they're so sacred in all of their uses for at least the last 2,000 years. And I just really feel like
it's
something about these
sad.
trees is connected deeply to humanity, that we evolved together. They evolved for our use, not in a shitty way. They evolved to benefit humanity. But that's why you should accept the substitutes that are available, because the demand is too high.
Well, that's just so sad. You say, you know, wars have been fought over these trees, and that's heartbreaking because it's trees, it's nature, it's earth. Why can't the earth has gifted us not to fight over it, but to share and to
That's capitalism
live
for
our
you.
life, you know, and it's so sad.
It is so sad.
It is capitalism. They were selling it.
Yeah, why do they think that they should be the ones to own this tree instead of the indigenous people that have been using this tree forever? Because, like, you know, the way that I think it was cinnamon originally made it to the rest of the world was like it was ferried across Africa to the Silk Road. I'm not exactly sure, but it was ferried from Sri Lanka all the way to the Silk Road to be then distributed to the rest of the world. And it's this one little area that's producing the cinnamon, at least originally.
Which is why cinnamon was so expensive.
Right.
And the royals had it. Like, you say that, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Because I remember there was a time, I'm pretty sure, when sugar was on that list, too, where it was very expensive.
Cinnamon was once worth 5 times more than silver.
I think coffee was one of those too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because again,
wait, is coffee a tree?
Oh, Jesus, that scared me. I'm sorry, guys. How good are those microphones?
Coffee comes from a tree, right?
I don't know. We'll look into
there's
it.
Like I know there's like a coffee bean.
Yeah.
I know there's a cocoa bean that comes from the.
That sounds like we should do as a dual episode.
And we've got our mocha latte. Our
we can throw
throw peppermint in there. Peppermint mocha. We've got a nice little peppermint mocha episode. Actually, that's lame and dorky. I love it.
Yeah. Another Trace tree. Shrubbery episode. You're getting how this was made. Yeah.
Peppermint's not a tree.
Right, yeah. But it works. It works.
Why didn't we think of that? Because we've been like brainstorming the trees that we were gonna do, and that was perfect. Why the fuck didn't we?
Mocha, peppermint, and cocaine.
Coca plant, because it's coca, right? Because you've got coca oil, chocolate, and then peppermint bush.
And coffee. Sorry, I don't know where cocaine came from. Maybe I heard at the beginning of that episode.
Like little Christmas cups. Dollar Tree's got plenty of those. Check them out for $1.25. Anyway, and we'll get some pics. Yeah, that sounds great.
I like that.
Get another trees episode before the end of the year.
Yes. But like sandalwood is ancient in its medicinal and magical uses. Like the beginning of man has record of using the sandalwood. But also accept the substitutes, because all of these trees we talked about today the true ones,
Mhm.
they are endangered. They are not doing well. Even the Australian substitute for
Mhm.
sandalwood, it's still the demand is way higher than what the supply
There's a
has.
couple things we could talk about accepting the substitutes for. One of them being
Yes.
diamonds, but like
You say coffee and my feelings were gonna be hurt.
Oh,
And
no.
also,
well, maybe
I really gotta get used to chicory and mushrooms.
fuck that.
God,
I'm
I love
sorry.
coffee.
I really like coffee. I need to stop coffee. I want
Mm.
to switch to my medicinal herbal tea. I think you remember when I was going on my walk, I'd have my coffee, go on my walk, and then I'd come home and have my tea. I never got to the point of doing the tea while on the walk and dropping the coffee all the way. I'd like to eventually get there, but I don't want to deal with the headaches literally.
Right.
Literally. And I've got a newborn. And as I told someone previously, I'm not stopping coffee until this baby's sleeping all the way through the night. And who knows
Fair
when
enough.
that is.
I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. And so like sandalwood itself is also used for like treating infections and stomach issues. So like they're all of these are sacred. They're all medicinal. They're all highly magical as far as offerings goes and like uses in magical working.
Mhm.
I mean, and since for like thousands of years, but still not as ancient as the other trees we've talked about. And I just there's something about that that strikes me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it truly strikes me, and I find them to be highly fascinating because of how sacred we find them and how they're all only originally available in one place. And really like still kind of mostly only available in that place. It's crazy. I don't know. What do you guys think about these? Like, do you like using sandalwood or cinnamon or dragon's blood? Are you willing to accept that we should use the discount dragon's blood and the discount sandalwood and the discount cinnamon, at least for spice and magical workings? Medicinally, it's a little different. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents and my question to everybody.
And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment and let us know what you think of Amber's
Please.
question. We're also
Yes.
available on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram at Witches Talking Tarot.
We're on the X at Classiest Witches because we are the classiest witches you know, which big shout out thank you to Death by DVD.
Melissa,
Victoria.
Pam.
They are our patrons on patreon.com/witches talking tarot, and they know we're the classiest witches. So why don't you join them over there and we'll have a ball. So thanks for coming to sit with us a spell. I don't know, I thought that would sound good, but I don't like how it sounds. Oh shit.
Recording. Oh my god. Oh. No. Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Is it gonna